A journey through love and loss, from winter's first snowfall to healing under the moonlight. A poignant story of heartbreak, memories, and finding strength to let go and carry on despite the pain. Emotional, reflective, and beautifully told without words. The first snowfall of the season arrived quietly, transforming the city into a world softened by frost and muted light. The usual bustle was replaced by an almost reverent stillness. Footsteps were muffled by the thick blanket of snow, and conversations seemed to fade into the gentle hush. Street lamps cast a soft glow, their light reflecting on the icy surfaces and the river's partially frozen skin, where moonlight danced like scattered stars on a silver canvas. Standing on the bridge overlooking the river was a lone figure, her breath visible in the cold night air, her hands gripping the fabric of her coat as if it were a fragile tether to warmth and memory. Winter, to her, was not just a season of cold. It was a time weighted with endings, moments folded into the past like brittle paper. Yet beneath this same moon, under this very sky, her life had shifted in a way she could never have foreseen. The beginning had been unremarkable, a slip on an icy path, a sudden loss of footing that might have ended in a fall. But before she could hit the cold ground, a firm hand steadied her. There was warmth in that touch, a quiet strength that reassured. Looking up, she had found eyes kind and bright, curved with an amused softness. It was a moment she had not expected to matter, but it did. It changed everything. From that moment, a season that might have been filled with bleakness instead carried warmth. Winter nights were no longer simply cold and dark, but filled with shared silences in dimly lit bookstores, where the scent of old paper mingled with whispered footsteps on wooden floors. They wandered empty streets where time slowed, and snowflakes landed gently on outstretched hands, dissolving almost as soon as they touched skin. He brought a lightness to her days, a sense of ease she had never known. She had spent years walking cautiously through life, afraid of the shadows cast by her own past. But he moved with confidence, as though the world bent to his will rather than the other way around. Without understanding how, she found herself drawn into his orbit, pulled by the gravity of his presence. Love, she realized, was as delicate as those snowflakes. Beautiful but fleeting. The happiness they shared was fragile, always threatened by the ghosts of her past that lurked just beyond the edges of her smile and the warmth of her touch. She never spoke of it, but the shadow hovered, a figure she had tried to forget, a history she had buried deep beneath layers of silence. He noticed the unspoken weight she carried, the way her gaze faltered when certain memories crept close. There was no need for words, he understood too well, but he never pressed for explanations or answers she was not ready to give. He simply stayed, steady and patient, waiting for her to choose whether to step forward or retreat. One winter evening, the city settled into its familiar rhythm beneath a twilight sky, painted in deep blues and purples. He had gone ahead, leaving a quiet message that he would be waiting for her at their cafe, a small sanctuary they had come to share. The thought of him there, sitting with a book, should have been a comfort. Instead, unease settled like a stone in her stomach. The snow began to fall heavier, thickening the cold air as she hurried through the streets. The usual hum of life had fallen silent beneath the growing storm, but the quiet felt unnatural, as if something was about to break. Then, piercing the stillness, came the sharp sound of tires sliding on ice, the sickening crunch of metal colliding with unforgiving steel. Time unraveled. Her world blurred as she turned the corner. Her breath caught in her throat as she saw the twisted wreckage tangled around a street lamp, headlights glaring through the storm. A motionless figure lay sprawled on the snow, the harsh light revealing the brokenness she feared. Her legs moved before she could think, carrying her past the stunned crowd. Faces blurred as she pushed forward, heart pounding so loudly it drowned out the sirens and distant shouts. She dropped to her knees beside him, hands trembling as they reached for his face, searching for the warmth that was slipping away. The flashing lights of the ambulance cast red and blue streaks over the falling snow, but all she could hear was the frantic beat of her own heart. His eyes flickered open, blurry but focused. His lips parted, trying to speak, and though no sound came, she recognized the silent word, her name, his last breath, hanging in the cold air. The moment shattered as paramedics swarmed, voices urgent yet distant. She was frozen, unable to move, watching as they lifted him, hands pressed where wounds refused to heal. The weight of his absence settled deep within her chest, even before the words from the doctor confirmed what her soul already knew. Love, no matter how fierce, could not stop time or death. The days that followed were hollow. The city continued, indifferent to the void carved into her life. His belongings remained untouched, books lined up neatly on the shelves, a half-written letter left on the desk, and a coat draped over the chair as though he would return at any moment. But he never came back. Spring bloomed with its promises of renewal, yet she remained trapped in winter's stillness. The streets they once walked together now stretched before her as reminders of everything lost. The cafe, the bookstore, and the bridge. Each place echoed with his absence, haunted by shadows of laughter, touches, and moments now frozen in time. One evening, beneath the same moon that had watched over their beginning, she returned to the bridge. The river reflected the hollow glow, silent and unyielding. The wind whispered past, carrying fragments of the past with it. For a moment, she closed her eyes, allowing the memories to wash over her. The warmth, the love, the heartbreak. Grief was not simply the absence of what had been. It was love left homeless, untethered from the present but never forgotten. And she realized that love was not about holding on. It was about carrying forward, honoring the space he had once filled. Beneath the pale moonlight, she let go not of him but of the pain that had shackled her. She embraced the memory, cherishing it, carrying him with her in every step forward. Because though time was fleeting, love endured eternally in the heart. The wind howled softly around her, carrying his presence into the night. Standing there, she knew with quiet certainty, he would always be with her in the stillness, in the spaces between seasons, in the warmth that lingered despite the cold. The days stretched on in a slow, aching rhythm. Time lost its usual meaning, folding into a continuum of memories and empty spaces. The city moved around her, indifferent and relentless, as life pushed forward with a cold certainty she could neither grasp nor resist. Her mornings were quiet, her nights long and heavy. The world that once felt so full of possibility now seemed muted, drained of color and warmth. In the solitude of her apartment, the weight of absence pressed down with crushing inevitability. She traced the edges of his presence in small ways. The empty chair across the table, the faint scent of his cologne lingering on the coat left behind, and the unread books stacked neatly on the shelf. Each object a testament to a life interrupted, a story left unfinished. Outside, the city was awakening to spring's tentative touch. Buds pushed their way through thawing earth, the sky brightened with longer days, and the streets slowly shed their winter quiet. But within her, winter clung stubbornly, a stubborn frost that no sunlight could dissolve. She wandered familiar paths, seeking traces of him in every corner. His favorite cafe with the worn wooden tables, the bookstore where he had spent countless hours lost in pages, and the bridge where their story had quietly begun. At the bridge, she stood again, letting the wind sweep over her face, carrying away tears she no longer fought to hold back. The river beneath was still cold and unforgiving, yet it reflected the sky's soft promise of renewal. Here, amid the quiet murmur of flowing water and distant city lights, she found a fragile peace. Not the peace of forgetting, but the peace of carrying love beyond loss. The nights remained the hardest. Shadows lengthened and memories rose like ghosts in the dark, each one demanding attention. She remembered the warmth of his smile, the gentle cadence of his voice, the way his eyes held hers as if she were the only thing that mattered. Those moments, once so vibrant, now existed as fragile echoes, beautiful, painful, and impossible to recapture. Yet, even in the darkest hours, there was something that pulled her forward. A quiet determination rooted deep within, a stubborn refusal to let grief become her prison. Love, she realized, was not only about holding on, but also about learning to live with the absence, to carry it as a part of herself. The memory of him would not vanish. Instead, it would become a source of strength, a light to guide her steps. Slowly, the seasons turned. Summer brought warmer days and longer evenings, filling the city with a renewed energy that seeped into her bones. She began to step outside the confines of sorrow, engaging once more with the world she had retreated from. The chatter of people on the streets, the scent of blooming flowers, and the laughter spilling from open windows. All these small details wove together into a tapestry of life continuing, no matter the losses endured. She found herself visiting new places, meeting new faces, though always with a lingering sense of caution. The past had taught her the fragility of happiness, the unpredictability of time. Yet she allowed herself moments of joy, fleeting and precious, like sunlight breaking through clouds after a storm. In these moments, she sensed his presence not in a physical form, but in the quiet spaces between breaths, in the soft whisper of wind through the trees, in the gentle touch of warmth that settled over her when she least expected it. It was a reminder that love transcended absence, that those who touch our hearts remain with us beyond the confines of time. One evening, as twilight settled over the city, she found herself once again at the bridge. The sky was painted in hues of pink and lavender, the river reflecting the fading light like a mirror to the heavens. She stood silently, allowing the stillness to fill her with a calm she had long sought. There, beneath the vast expanse of sky and the soft murmur of flowing water, she made peace with the past and opened her heart to the future. The pain of loss remained, but it no longer held her captive. Instead, it became a part of her story, a story of love, loss, resilience, and hope. The seasons would continue to change, as they always did, bringing new challenges and new joys. And she would walk forward, carrying the memory of love eternal, a flame that no winter could extinguish.